we are going to talk about the silent strength that lies within you, specifically regarding how establishing healthy boundaries acts as an existential threat to manipulative personalities. We will uncover why your self-respect is not just a shield for you, but a force that fundamentally dismantles their ability to control. Have you ever wondered why a simple no can cause such a chaotic reaction in certain people? Have you noticed that when you finally draw a line in the sand, the person on the other side does not just get annoyed, but seems to panic? This is not a coincidence. We are going to walk through the psychology of this dynamic so you can understand that their reaction is not a reflection of your cruelty, but a testament to your newfound strength. Part 1. The invisible wall and the threat to control. To understand why boundaries are so terrifying to a manipulative person, we must first understand how they view the world. For a healthy individual, the world is made up of separate people, each with their own thoughts, feelings, and autonomy. But for a highly manipulative or narcissistic individual, this separation does not truly exist. They often view others, especially those close to them, as extensions of themselves. They see you not as a person, but as a limb, something that exists to serve their needs, regulate their emotions, and uphold their reality. When you live without boundaries, you are essentially agreeing to this worldview. You are keeping the doors to your inner house wide open, allowing them to walk in and rearrange the furniture whenever they please. They rely on these blurred lines. They rely on constant, unfettered access to your energy and your emotions. This enmeshment is their comfort zone because it allows them to bypass their own internal voids by filling them with your essence. So, what happens when you establish a boundary? What happens when you build an invisible wall? When you say, "No, I will not accept that behavior," or "I am not available for this conversation right now," you are doing something radical. You are declaring that you are separate. You are cutting off the phantom limb. For the manipulator, this is not just an inconvenience. It is a shock to their system. Imagine waking up and finding your arm has decided it no longer wants to follow your instructions. That is the level of visceral panic they feel. The immediate shockwave when you declare no for the first time is profound. It shatters the illusion of their omnipotence. They are suddenly forced to confront the reality that they cannot control you. And if they cannot control you, they cannot use you to regulate their own fragile self-esteem. This is why they do not respect the boundary initially. They perceive the boundary as an act of aggression. In their mind, your independence feels like a rejection of their very existence. They are not fighting for a specific outcome. They are fighting to reestablish the reality where they are the puppeteer and you are the puppet. Part 2. Their existential threat and disabling their tools. As we go deeper, we need to look at the specific tools manipulative personalities use and how your boundaries render these tools useless. This is where your silent strength truly shines. Manipulators rely on a toolkit filled with guilt, gaslighting, emotional blackmail, and the constant demand for validation. These tools require your participation to work. They are a two-player game. Gaslighting, for example, requires you to doubt your own reality. It requires you to look to them for the truth. But when you have strong boundaries, you are rooted in your own perception. You know what you saw. You know what you felt. When they try to rewrite history, your boundary acts as a filter that says, I hear your version, but I trust my own. Suddenly, their gaslighting has nowhere to land. It just floats in the air, ineffective and visible for what it is. Similarly, consider their need for validation. A manipulative person is often like a bucket with a hole in the bottom. They need a constant stream of praise and attention to feel okay. When you set a boundary that limits how much time and energy you give them, you are turning off the tap. You are no longer their unlimited supply source. This forces them to sit with their own emptiness, which is the one thing they are most desperate to avoid. Your self-respect creates a vacuum that they cannot fill. By refusing to engage in circular arguments, you disable their ability to confuse you. By refusing to accept guilt for things that are not your fault, you disable their ability to shame you. Your assertive communication, stating your needs clearly and without apology, is kryptonite to them. They thrive in the gray areas of implied obligation and unstated expectations. When you bring clarity into the room, the shadows they hide in disappear. They perceive this as an existential threat because their entire persona is often built on the shaky foundation of controlling others. If they cannot manipulate you, they are forced to ask themselves who they really are without that control. And for many of them, that is a terrifying question with no answer. Part 3. The psychological mechanics of their backlash. Now, I want to prepare you for what happens when the tools stop working. When you hold your ground, you will likely witness what psychologists call an extinction burst. This is a temporary increase in the frequency and intensity of the unwanted behavior when the reinforcement for that behavior is removed. Think of a toddler pressing a button on a toy that has stopped working. They do not just press it once and walk away. They press it harder, faster, and maybe even throw the toy across the room. When a manipulator realizes your boundaries are real, they will likely cycle through predictable stages of backlash. It is crucial that you observe these stages with detachment, almost like a scientist observing a reaction in a lab, rather than absorbing them as personal attacks. First, they might try to charm you. They will be sweeter than they have been in years, trying to lure you back into the fold. This is often called love bombing. If that does not work, they will quickly switch to guilt. They will say things like, "After all I have done for you," or "You have changed. You used to be so nice." They are trying to leverage your empathy against you. If guilt fails, they may escalate to anger and intimidation. This is the fear tactic. They want to see if they can scare you back into submission. And if that fails, they might resort to the most painful tactic of all, triangulation. This is where they bring a third person into the dynamic to validate their side and isolate you. They might tell family members that you are being unstable or cruel, trying to damage your reputation to pressure you into compliance. You must understand that this backlash is fueled by a deep, primal fear of abandonment and a loss of power. They are flailing. They are trying every key on their keyring to see which one will unlock the door you have bolted shut. The reason they take your boundaries so personally is that they cannot conceive of a relationship based on mutual respect. They only understand relationships based on leverage. When you remove the leverage, they feel they have lost the relationship entirely. Part 4. Your silent power and the strength in your stance. Amidst this storm, where are you? You are the lighthouse. You are the oak tree. This is the essence of your silent power. There is a profound, quiet confidence that begins to grow when you start honoring your own needs and values. It is the realization that you are not responsible for managing their emotions. You are only responsible for your own actions and your own integrity. Holding your ground is an act of self-love. It is a practice. Every time you enforce a boundary, you are casting a vote for the person you want to be. You are telling yourself, I matter. My peace matters. This internal shift is far more powerful than any argument you could ever win. In fact, the power comes from realizing you do not need to attend the argument at all. Your silent power lies in the pause. It lies in the moment where they try to provoke you. And instead of reacting with defensiveness, you simply breathe. You look at them with calmness and say, I understand you are upset, but I will not continue this conversation while you are yelling. And then, this is the key, you follow through. This stance teaches them something new. It teaches them that their old methods are obsolete. For some, this might actually be a catalyst for growth. They might learn very slowly that to have access to you, they must treat you with respect. They learn that the price of admission to your life is kindness and reciprocity. However, we must also be realistic. For many manipulative personalities, they will not learn. They will simply leave to find an easier target, someone who has not yet found their strength. And while that may feel painful, it is also a form of liberation. Your strength acts as a filter, keeping those who truly value you close and allowing those who only value your compliance to drift away. Part 5. Reclaiming your narrative and building an unbreakable shield. So, how do we build this unbreakable shield? How do we reclaim the narrative of our own lives? It starts with the understanding that boundaries are not punishments. They are the guidelines for how you wish to be loved. One practical strategy is to script your boundaries in advance. When we are emotional, it is hard to find the right words. Write them down. Practice saying them in the mirror. Use simple, direct language. I am not comfortable with that. I need to take a break from this topic. I can help you for 1 hour, but then I must leave. The fewer words you use, the less material you give them to twist. Another strategy is to become comfortable with being the bad guy in their story. This is a difficult hurdle for us, especially if we pride ourselves on being kind and helpful. But you must realize that in the narrative of a toxic person, anyone who does not obey them is the villain. Embrace that role if it means you are free. Let them tell their stories. Their version of events does not change your reality. You must also focus on consistency. A boundary that is only enforced 50% of the time is not a boundary. It is a suggestion. Consistency is what solidifies the wall. It shows them that you are serious. It builds your self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you are adding another brick to your fortress of self-esteem. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your boundaries. Find friends who say, "Good for you for saying no," rather than those who pressure you to be nice. This social support is vital. It reminds you that healthy relationships exist and that you are deserving of them. Ultimately, reclaiming your narrative is about shifting your focus from "how do I change them" to "how do I protect me?" It is about realizing that you have the pen in your hand. You get to write the next chapter. You get to decide who has a speaking role in your life and who is merely an extra in the background. Conclusion. As we bring this session to a close, I want you to visualize yourself standing in a beautiful, open field. You are surrounded by a circle of golden light. This light is your boundary. It is warm, it is protective, and it is yours. Inside this circle, there is peace. Inside this circle, you are safe to be your authentic, wonderful self. Remember, establishing boundaries is not an act of war. It is an act of peacemaking with yourself. It is the silent strength that says, "I am here, I am worthy, and I will not be diminished." The manipulative people in your life may panic. They may flail. They may try to pull you back into the old dance. But you know the steps to a new dance now. You have the music of your own self-respect playing in your heart, and that is the only rhythm you need to follow. Thank you so much for joining me today on Happy Aura. I hope this discussion has given you some clarity and some courage. Be gentle with yourself as you practice this. It takes time, but I believe in you. You are stronger than you know. I want to add a few more thoughts here, just for us to sit with, because I know that when the video ends, the real work begins. I know that the silence after you set a boundary can feel incredibly loud. You might feel a rush of guilt, conditioned by years of putting others first. I want you to know that this guilt is a liar. It is a remnant of a survival mechanism that you no longer need. Think about the concept of emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is the ability to hold two opposing truths at the same time. You can love someone deeply, and yet Know that they are not good for you right now. You can wish someone well and still refuse to let them harm you. This nuance is where your freedom lives. The manipulative person thinks in black and white. You are either with them or against them. But you, in your wisdom, can live in the color. You are learning to discern between a request and a demand. A request respects your right to say no. A demand punishes you for it. When you start to see this distinction, the fog lifts. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop offering justifications to people who are only listening for a weakness to exploit. There is an immense beauty in the life that awaits you on the other side of this struggle. Imagine a morning where you wake up and your phone is not a source of anxiety. Imagine a family gathering where you feel calm because you know exactly when you will leave and what you will not discuss. This is not a fantasy. This is the very real, very attainable result of the work we have discussed today. Your energy is a finite resource. It is like a bank account. Every time you engage in a circular argument, every time you soothe a manipulator's manufactured crisis, you are making a withdrawal. Eventually, you will be overdrawn. Boundaries are simply the budget you create to ensure you have enough energy left for your passions, your joy, and your true purpose. So, do not be afraid of the panic they display. Let it be the storm that rages outside your window while you sit comfortably inside by the fire. You are safe. You are whole. And you are finally, truly, in charge of your own emotional home. Thank you again, my friends. I am sending you waves of strength and serenity. You can do this. You are doing this. Keep going.